Welcome to this explainer from Forge College. We're continuing our journey through RESTful API development for Solana. We just wrapped up batch minting and batch transfers, so we have these beautiful data payloads sitting on our servers. But right now, they're all dressed up with nowhere to go. Today, we're finally crossing the finish line. We're going to take those payloads and actually ship them off to the Solana network. Let's get right into serializing and submitting transactions. So here's our game plan for today. Kind of like a blueprint for an engineering assembly line. We'll go from payloads to transactions, gather our required components, tackle assembly and ordering, move on to serializing and submitting, and finally confirm the network response.
All right, part one, from payloads to transactions, basically bridging that gap.
Okay, so right now our payloads look fantastic in JSON, right? But the thing is, they are entirely meaningless to the Solana network. We have to translate our Web 2 intentions into actual Web 3 reality. If you look at how this maps out here, an amount from our REST payloads translates directly into the instruction data. The recipient becomes an account meta key. And this is absolutely crucial, the fee payer sets exactly which account is going to sign and actually pay for the whole thing. It's literally the raw input for our assembly line.
But before we can actually send anything across the wire, we have to do something called transaction serialization. What does that really mean? Well, the RPC node, the server that talks to the blockchain, it's kind of like a picky eater. It absolutely hates our pretty nested JSON objects. So serialization is just the process of squishing all our complex instructions down into a really dense, flat, binary package that the machine can digest instantly. Moving on to section 2, getting the required components. We got to gather our materials. So before we fire up the heavy machinery to build that binary package we just talked about, we need two very specific things. First up is the fee payer. Because on the Solana network, somebody always has to cover the shipping costs. There is no free lunch here, and there is certainly no free compute. The network needs to know exactly whose wallet is going to get dinged for that fraction of a cent to process the state change. You've got to explicitly set this before you serialize. Second, and this is absolutely critical, we need a recent block hash. Think of this exactly like an expiration date on a carton of milk. Solana is incredibly fast, and it really doesn't want to remember every single transaction ever attempted until the end of time. If you submit a transaction with an expired block hash, the network is just going to throw it out. Nobody wants chunky milk, and Solana definitely doesn't want a stale transaction. All right, section 3, assembly and signature ordering, otherwise known as the critical path. With our materials gathered, we move to the absolute most critical step of our assembly line. Your server-side code has to follow this exact 5-step sequence. Ready? 1. Build the instruction. 2. Set the fee pair. 3. Fetch that recent block hash. 4. Sign the transaction. And 5. Serialize and send. If you mix these up, like, say, if you try to sign it before you set the fee pair or fetch that fresh block hash, the Solana runtime will instantly reject it. I mean, you can't put the roof on the car before you've built the chassis, right? And order matters so much here because of the sheer difference between human-readable and machine-readable data. The message we assemble in our code, full of nice arrays and keys, super easy for us to read. But the serialized transaction that actually goes across the wire is just a highly compact binary buffer. Once it's serialized, it is completely sealed. The signatures literally wrap around the entire message, locking it permanently in place. Which brings us to a golden rule in Solana development. Signature ordering and the message account order are tightly coupled. You must always derive your signature order from the message. If your signature array doesn't perfectly match the message's account key ordering, it's like putting your shoes on before your socks. The whole thing will just fail. The network looks at the first account required to sign, and then it looks at the first signature provided. They have to match perfectly, for sure.
Section 4, serializing and submitting. Time for packaging and shipping. We've done all the prep work, so now for the really fun part. By calling .serialize on our transaction object, we flatten our package into that binary buffer. Then, by calling sendRawTransaction, we confidently ship that buffer right off to the testnet RPC node. This method is the true workhorse. It takes that unreadable block of data and fires it straight into the blockchain ecosystem. And almost instantly, the RPC node hands us back a shipping receipt. This comes in the form of an 88-character base58 network signature string. This string is your official proof of submission.
Now, keep in mind, it doesn't necessarily mean the transaction was successful yet, but it proves the network has accepted your package and is actively processing it. You can take this exact string, plug it into any Solana block explorer, and track your transaction in real time. Let's look at Section 5, confirming the network response. A little quality assurance.
Because, a good engineer never just drops a package in the mail and walks away, right? So let's check our server logs. In a successful run, your logs should show 3 distinct things. First, the serialized payload itself. You want to log this so you can inspect the exact binary if things ever go wrong. Second, that 88-character signature string we just talked about. And third, a confirmation response directly from the node indicating the transaction is actually finalized. Seeing all 3 of those, it means your assembly line worked flawlessly.
But let's be real for a second. Things break. And if they do, don't panic. Just go through a quick checklist. Did you wait too long and your blockhash expired? Are your signatures maybe scrambled? Or, and this is honestly the most classic Web3 developer mistake ever, is your Keypair's wallet completely empty? If so, no worries at all. Just go hit a testnet faucet, get some fake SOL, and try it again.
So we've successfully built the happy path today. We took a payload, serialized it, and got it on-chain. But the internet is kind of a messy place. So in our next explainer, we're going to tackle exactly what to do when the network blinks. We'll look at handling RPC failures, transient network errors, and how to safely retry a submission without accidentally executing the exact same transaction twice.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought to chew on. Are your API endpoints actually robust enough to handle unpredictable network failures while maintaining exact idempotency? Think about how you'd handle those momentary, transient failures in a live production environment. It's a really fascinating challenge. Be sure to visit forge.college to learn more about this subject and explore our other deep dives into Web3 development. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy building.